5 people. Hi, Marlene. Hi, Mary Ellen, Kelly, Sherry, Daphne. Thank you guys all for joining me today. I appreciate it. Hope you guys are all doing well. I have a very loose plan today. So I am actually going to take a poll and see if you guys would rather do a shaker card or my friend Rhonda was kind enough to lend me her little treats bundle, so we could also make this instead. So there's a couple different ways you can actually make this bundle, the little treats bundle, and I'm going to show you because I have this ready. This is actually in the catalog in case you haven't seen it. So it has Halloween, it has birthday or Christmas because you could use that for either one. There's some Christmas items. You could even do engagement, which I think this is probably a couple layers of foil together for a ring, which is an absolutely adorable idea. So there's also, you could use that as Halloween candy, regular candy, birthday candy, lots of different things you could do this for. And they also have a couple different ways that they've done these treat holders, so lots of variations to do. So we can either do that, or we could do a shaker card. And if we do a shaker card, I was thinking of doing a snowflake shaker card. So I'm going to let that ruminate for a minute while you guys figure. I see some shakers already. But one other thing I wanted to share, I have a couple cards that I wanted to share that I finished from not this past week because I didn't do this Thursday, but the Saturday before. I want to share those. But I also want to give a really big shout out to my downline team member who is Suzanne Gephardt. She makes these calendars every year. And some of them are old Stampin' Up stamps, but they're so cute. But this one really made me laugh this morning. So we're at the very last day of October. It's October 31st, 2020, in case you're watching this on the replay. And I thought this was an adorable little fun Halloween month. So we're going to be switching over to November. And I thought this was equally just as cute. Plymouth Rocks. How hilarious is that? So there will be tomorrow. But she makes these, she's made these for me every year since she's been on my team, which is really nice of her to send. She makes one for every single month, and every year they're all different. She colors them in. That one's really cute too. I love that one. But I have these clipped because I don't really have a place to stick it that's close enough. So what I actually do is I use one of my magnets and I clip it to my magnet, and then my magnet holds it to my lamp. So it's always right there. And I just wanted to say I thank her so much for sending me those because they're really cute. And every single year they're completely different because she uses different stamps, and I think it's super fun. Okay, so let's see. Hi, Jill. Hi, Mary. Hi, Tina. How are you doing, Tina? I hope you're doing well. And Donna. All right, I see a lot of shakers. Cold. It's cold here too in Maryland. Little treats. I only see one little treat so far. I'm not going to do Halloween. I'm kind of at the point of Halloween doubt, but I will post a few things. Let's see. So I see a lot of shakers. Shaker. And I'm going to share with you the other cards. Where does she get the month stamps? You know, I think she prints it out because this is, and you know what, if she hops on, we can ask her. But I'm pretty sure she prints this out on a computer. But this is definitely on Whisper White cardstock. But it's a very shiny print, so I'm thinking this is printed from a computer, like a program. So if she does pop on here, I will ask her, and she can share that with you. But if for some reason she doesn't, I can send her a message, and I can always update you guys. But I think it is a fun idea. So a couple cards, if you remember, we made these last week. I just want to go and look at these really quickly. So we did these last week. There was that one, which I think this one was really fun. Then there was this other one. Let me put some of this down so you can see. I kind of have all my supplies here so we can, depending on what we were going to do. We did those. And then we were talking about, what other one did we do? We did this one, and we did this one. So I did go ahead after the fact, and I made 2 other cards, but this week was so busy, I just did not have time to share anything. So I figured I would share them with you now. So this is the one I made with the other trees. And then this is the one I made with the branch tree. So this one would be from Snowfront, and this is from Winter Woods. And I really think this one was a little bit, I was a little worried about it because of the amount of detail, but I think it turned out really nicely. So again, I used the Buffalo Plaid background stamp for all of these, and I just made a whole bunch of them. This one I ended up doing in Cherry Cobbler. And then this one uses the tree that doesn't have any branches, obviously, on it from Snowfront. So I think they turned out really, really cute. And then one other thing I wanted to show you. So kind of in regards to this tree here where I stamped the Mary in the background, I also made kind of a Thanksgiving-ish version, which is this one. So what I did was, this is in cinnamon cider, and I did end up using the embossed leaves. And then what I did was with the, oh my goodness, I'm pretty sure it's right here, with Beautiful Autumn, I stamped these little background images. So I have a piece of Very Vanilla underneath, and I have an extra one here, but I have a piece of Very Vanilla underneath that I stamped, and you can see I kind of filled in the stamps here, and this is even from this. So I just used these to fill in underneath. You can also kind of see it under here, but I covered it up. This one didn't fit, so I didn't put one there at all. But what I did was I just cut out the leaves, embossed them, and then the one that was on top here, so this cutout, I actually just stamped it with the coordinating stamp, and this was from Gather Together, so you can see that there, that die matches perfectly. And then I used the other sentiment, and that would be from Beautiful Autumn. But I thought this turned out fun. But what I did was I cut my cardstock down a little short because of the way it stamped with the buffalo plaid. So I added this little piece of the brushed foil, which turned out really cute. And then I stamped this on the inside, and I went over this with Wink of Stella. And I thought if you wanted to, you could kind of like overlay the other leaf or something like that. But I thought this turned out pretty neat for just doing something different. There's obviously a lot of, I had a very juicy Wink of Stella brush there. But I thought this was a fun thing to do. And then one other one I wanted to share, and this one is equally simple, but I want to show you something that I messed up so you can understand. So I saw someone share this idea with the triangles, and I thought it was so adorable. So I ended up using Mary Merlot on Cherry Cobbler, and it kind of ended up being a little bit dark because what I did was I did the sentiment heat embossed underneath of here, and you couldn't see it. It was so dark. So what I did was I went and re-embossed the Merry Christmas just on a scrap piece of Whisper White. And I was trying to, and I want to pull this out so you can see just what I did. Where did I put that? My rectangles. Hold on, they're here. So I went ahead and I cut it with my rectangle, but it was just way, way, way too big. And no matter which of, and there's lots of rectangles in here, you guys know that. No matter which rectangle, one was too small, one was too short. So what I did was I ended up using the bigger rectangle, and I just did some partial die cutting. So I cut this, so this piece was originally a full-size sheet. I cut it, and then I moved it down, and then I partial die cut the top of it. So I would have, again, my own custom, and I think it actually looks nicer because it pops a little bit more. And then this is just 3 of the stitched triangles together to make a 3D tree. So I thought that was really pretty fun. So, and then the buffalo plaid, that's just the background stamp. So what I did with this one, I was being really just trying to make it super simple because I was making it at the end in the hopes I'd be able to share it during the week, but I didn't have enough time, I'm sorry. So what I did was I inked the buffalo plaid, and then I just put this down inside of it. So this is just a single layer card. There's nothing to it. It has buffalo plaid stamped directly onto the front. I originally did the embossing, but it didn't look good. So then I just did it, popped it up, and this pops out. I took a little tiny piece of scrap that I had laying around, and that actually is from, because it does have a teeny bit of detail. It's kind of hard to see, but it's from, let me pull it out over here. This little speckled piece, which is on the other side of the Gilded Autumn paper. So I just cut a little piece out because it has little speckles, and I just stuck it there for the trunk. It was really, really easy to glue together. And then this one got a little wonky because the way I laid it down. But when you mail this, what you could do is you mail it flat, so it will fit in your envelope. And then when they get it, they can kind of just pop it up. And then when it sits up, it'll be like a little 3D tree. So I thought that was kind of fun. So I wanted to share that with you guys as well. That is why I ordered another pack of this paper, because I thought that was really, really cute. So the 3D tree was very, very easy to do. And again, I did that using, you can see, the pieces of plaid. You could do more if you wanted more pieces in there, but I just thought 3 would be easy. So I just cut out 3 pieces. So we'll do this one again one day, and it's pretty simple, but we can, I can show you guys how to do it. It's very, very easy, again, with the stitched triangles. So if you don't have those, they are really useful for making 3D Christmas trees. Another cool thing is you could even make these into a ornament kind of gift tag, or just like a ornament somebody could hang on a tree if you want to do. So that would be really simple as well. So, final thing, there was one other thing I wanted to share, and what was it? It was about the tree. Oh, one other thing, and I think I have these here. Hold on. This was not my idea, but I thought this was a really cool idea, so I think and here's the buffalo plaid. So basically, when I use this, what I do is I just ink it in here. So I'll just take my stamp, whatever it is, ink it, and then I lay it on top and I go over it, because I find that you get better inking that way. You get better coverage, and you can also kind of decide where you want it to be. And then if you mess up, I've always just inked in a little spot and added something to it. So I usually, when I do my background stamps, I don't tend to take them out just for that specific reason. So I'm going to move these over because some of these are fall and we're not going to use those today. And I think that was all I wanted to share. So I did see a couple other ideas this week that I really thought were worth sharing in case you didn't know. So I have some stamps out here. I have a couple ideas. I'm not going to tell you all of them, but here's that branch that we use for snow front. So you could do that. You could even do the little trees. But earlier this week, Frenchie shared a really cool idea that if you hadn't thought about it, you probably wouldn't use it. But she actually made multiple size trees with this tree stamp here. And the way she did it is when she stamped the stamp, so, oops, she inked up her tree stamp, and then she only stamped part of it, so you could make shorter trees, bigger trees, little trees. I thought it was such a good idea, and I can't believe nobody has thought to mention it before that. But in case you don't necessarily have this stamp set, which is very, very useful, I like this one a lot. You could also you could do the same thing with Mountain Air, and maybe just shorten some of these little tall pine trees there. So I thought that was another good idea to share. I have a really fun idea I want to do for this for a Christmas card, so I will share that as well, but I have to wait to create it. So, all right. Let's see. You love the buffalo. I love the buffalo stamp too. It's really very, very useful. Okay, so let's see. So I think I saw a whole lot of shakers, so I'm just waiting to go back and see. So we're thinking either shaker or the treat. So I'm just going to check through and see. I saw almost all shakers this morning. I just want to make sure. I think shakers is pretty much one. Just going to check and make sure I don't see any other ones. Yeah, Frenchie is very clever. She really, really is. It's kind of funny because when you watch other people making cards, you can see things that you may not either think of on your own, which is sometimes why I say I enjoy making these cards live more, because it gives you more of an idea of what it is that you want to do with something, just because you tend to be thinking outside the box. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it looks like we're going to do a shaker card. So I'm going to use the Snowman Season because I want to add that to it. And the reason is I'm looking for snowflakes. I wish I should have gotten that the big snowflake. Here's another one. There's a snowflake in this too I'm going to use. And then there's some random snow in here. I should have gotten the big snowman set. There's two sets that I really, really wish I would have gotten because I thought they would be super cool. But I didn't, so what you going to do, right? So my idea is we're going to have a background and we're going to Versamark. So we're going to do some heat embossing basically to keep it white, and then we're going to cover it up with some blue. And then I have a few things that I pulled out in case you didn't know. The snowflake sequins, they are in the holiday catalog. These actually carried over from last year, so you might have these, so that'll make it simple. So I have two containers of those. Another thing that has some white in it is the flowers for every season. So you could pull out the green if you wanted to, but an easier thing that you could do, if you've never seen this before, these are the little balls that come in those dry packs that are in like purses and shoes and stuff. So you certainly can keep them white, or if you wanted to, the other thing you can do is you can add a little tiny drop of re-inker. So I'll just show you this real quick before we get started so it has some time to dry. So you'll just put like one, this is Seaside Spray. One drop of re-inker is really all you need. And this is just in an old container of something. So I'm just going to flip this over, close the lid, and then you shake them. And what it does is, and you could do this for any color, and obviously if you want them darker, you can do them darker. But what it does is it colors the little balls. So you do need to give them a little bit of time to dry, but it colors the balls. And then you have little colored shakers that are free because you already paid for something that probably has these in them. So let me just see if I have a pack, because I usually have, yeah, here's one. 8 million of them. So these are the little silica gel packs. So essentially all you do is you just pop this open, and I'll show you usually. Now sometimes you'll get ones that are tan, and if you get those, they don't color well, but you just put these in. So that's all. This was just like probably 6 packs. Add them in, and then just put them in and shake them up, and then you can color them. So you can keep these in a container. You can keep them all for the same color. You can mix up the colors. You could do different ones if you had like different things going on. Like say if you wanted to do it for fall, you could have, you know, a pack of red, a pack of orange, a pack of green, and then you could kind of mix them in to make a colorful fall shaker card. The only thing you want to do, a little disaster here, is just make sure that you let them dry, especially if you're going to be using more than one color. Okay, so just a couple quick tips for you there. So I'll probably mix some of these in with our snowflakes. Put the green ones on the side. Do this over here. Okay, so I'm going to put these on the side, but I think I might potentially use some of these. Now you know what to do with them, right? So all you need to do is have some sort of an empty container, which I'm sure we all have some kind of an empty container, and then you'll be set. Move this over. Okay, so we are going to be doing some heat embossing, since we're going to do kind of a resist technique. So I am going to grab a coffee filter. I'm going to have one that's clean. And you could do this one of 2 ways, kind of just depends on what you do. You could either do it with clear powder, or if you really, really want it to stand out, you could do white powder. I don't really think it necessarily makes a difference, but what I'll do is I'll do some in one and some in the other and see if we can tell a difference of what might be a little bit more prominently white for the snowflake, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just going to grab, let's see. So this is a host set, obviously, Merry Hello. So I'm going to pull off the little snow balls. Then Everything Essential has these little snowflakes. And I'm going to do also another set of bookmarks with the Everything Essential tag, in case you missed that little quick video I did with, and I'm going to do these big snowflakes, with the Halloween one. My niece and my son, both of my nieces I should say, they loved it, so we're going to do that. So I have my 3 stamps mounted, Versamark ink. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my heat tool, that way it's nice and hot, so you're going to hear that in the background. And then I'm going to grab a piece of Whisper White, and I am going to run my embossing buddy all over this, just so whatever I put in there stays where I have it. And I don't really know how big this is going to be yet, so I'm just doing a full-size sheet. It could always be smaller. So just grab your Versamark, and I'm going to do the largest first. Just going to randomly stamp. I try to make sure I have a good amount of them at the top. I'll do the little one next. So just in case you might not have a snowflake, I'm sure you have a snowflake in something. Maybe you have an older snowflake. All right, and then just the dots. But there's a couple different things you could use. Maybe you have one of these. All right, that's going to be good enough for now. So I'm just going to close this up. All right, so I have white. I'm going to do half white and half clear. We'll see which one looks better. So I'm just going to do the white, just to make it easy. I'll do the white on the right. And again, bear with me because I don't have a plan for this. I just kind of picked two things this morning, so we're going to have to see where it takes us. So I'll put the clear over here on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back. So white on the right, and then the clear is on the other side. All right, so I'm going to just heat this to set it. Since it's nice and hot, it should melt fairly fast. And in case you've never embossed before, the way you can tell is it turns from dusty to shiny. So when it's shiny, it's set. Okay, so they all look fairly shiny. Let me just do the other side. Okay, so they all look pretty good. All right, so again, I have the white embossing powder on the right. The clear is on the left, and the reason I can tell is because the clear actually has a little bit of iridescent sparkle mixed in it with it by accident. So you have a couple options here. You can do a blender brush if you have that handy. That gives you a pretty light overall coverage. And then you have two other big choices, I will say, really. So you could do a sponge if you want it to be a little bit lighter, and if you want something to be a little bit darker, you could use a sponge dauber. So what we'll do is we'll kind of do a variation of the sponge and the sponge dauber. And I'm going to start with a lighter color. So I'm going to do Seaside Spray, and then maybe we'll add a little bit of Balmy Blue around the darker edges. So I'm going to do Seaside Spray first, and I'm going to do the sponge. So you can either, a couple things too, you could take a punch, so you could do a circle punch, any kind of a punch, and you can put it on the end here and clip it if you want to kind of keep your fingers clean, but my fingers are always inky, so it doesn't really bother me too much. You can also use, I've seen people use clips like this if you want to do it, but for me, I don't know, I feel like I have to hold it a little bit better, so I just go for the ink. So I'm going to just ink this up with some Seaside Spray. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go across the middle so we can see the difference between the white and the clear. So, and what it's going to do is it's really going to make the snowflakes stick out. And I'm not going to really do the whole thing the same intensity. That way we kind of have parts that stick out more than others. So almost will make it look like a watercolory kind of thing. Oh, and I just had another idea. We could do that afterwards if I can find one of my spritzers that has any water in it. So I'm going to go around. So kind of already, I can notice a little bit. I think that the white jumps out a little bit more, but I still think they look equally nice. So we'll stop there for the Seaside Spray. I'm going to put that over here. Then I'll open the Balmy Blue. And with the dauber, I'm going to do the edges so it's a little bit darker. Okay, so I'm going to really hit the edges. And I'm just going to turn my paper so it's a little bit easier than trying to get all the way around. Plus it'll give you a little bit of a graduated color, kind of more of a gradient with the light and the dark. One thing you have to be careful, and you'll notice it here, is that you get a circle if you start on the paper. So you kind of want to try to start off of it. And don't press super duper hard. Just put a little bit on the inside. So that looks pretty good. Okay. So kind of hard to tell the difference between the white and the clear there. So I think you could probably use either, and they'll both turn out really well. So one other thing you want to do, and I should have brought a paper towel, but I seem to always forget to actually bring a paper towel. I'm going to wipe this off. I'm going to take my cloth and I'm going to just brush the color, because what that is actually doing is wiping the color off of the white snowflakes. So they actually will be a little bit more prominent. So really, actually, this looks really pretty. I'm very impressed with myself. I did a good job today. It kind of looks really blizzardy. I like it a lot. I think it looks really cute. So this will be our background. So what I think I'm going to do, and I probably should have done this ahead of time, but you guys, if you don't know about now, let me see what this measures. This is at least 4. So it's probably a full sheet. 4 1/4. So it's going to lay right on top of whatever it is we're going to do. That way it'll fit all the way to the edge. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this onto, I think I'm going to put it on Thick Whisper White. And so I'm going to cut a half sheet. I'm trying to think, how do I want to do this? Do this. We'll do it so it's short and wide. So I'm going to score it at 4 1/4. And then we'll cut it at 5 1/2. And I just want to make sure before I move my trimmer that this actually fits the entire front of the card. Yeah, that fits on there pretty well. All right, so that actually measures up pretty well. So we have that. So while I have this out, I am going to cut a piece of window sheet. So window sheet comes, in case you haven't seen it, comes in 12 by 12. The sheet I have it in actually was our old scrapbook sleeves, which unfortunately they no longer carry. So I can't tell you a place to get it because I haven't found one myself. I'm just glad that I ordered enough. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure that we have enough shaker, is I'm going to cut this the exact same. So I'm going to cut this at, I might do 1/8 less. I'm going to do 4 1/8 by, because I want to make sure that I have enough room, because sometimes I undercut it. So 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, so that's my window sheet, and I'm just cutting this with the regular trimmer. So basically what I'm trying to do is to make sure that this is going to cover this enough so we have plenty of room for our shaker, because since it's such a nice big sheet, I really don't want to cover much of it up. I am going to cut a, we're going to cut a nice frame around this with our stitched rectangles, but I'm not sure what we're going to do with that yet. So put that one there. Let me move these. What we could do is, we could do one of these. Oh, this might look nice with the little snowflakes, and we're going to probably just do like a little inch border. So I'm going to hold on to that. That one might be a nice contrast. This one might look nice as well with the watercolor. All right, so I'm going to pick those two for now. And I'm not going to do anything with it yet because we're going to need to cut that with a frame, and we're going to actually do that with the stitched rectangles. We're going to layer them together. That way we get a nice thing. So one other thing I kind of suggested. So I have my window sheet and my base card, and this will probably be the frame part. One other thing I suggested that we could do with this, and I want to see if I have one that has water in it. This might be water. This is definitely water. So if you take your, well, these are backwards, I forget. You take your aqua painter or whatever it is that you may have. This would probably work a little bit better with a paper towel, but we're just going to do it with a cloth for now. So if you take these and you kind of make sure you get it really, really wet, so squeeze the barrel so you get a lot of fluid down at the end here. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to flick just to do some spots. Okay, so that's good enough. Then I'm going to take my cloth and kind of absorb some of those drops off. And it'll kind of give you like that droplet effect. Now it does need to dry, so I'm going to hit this with the heat tool just to make sure it dries. If you had a paper towel, it'll give you a little bit better of a lift because it actually pull the color a little better. So I'm going to hit this just to dry it. But it'll kind of give you, you know how you have when you're out in the snow and you have those blobs that seem to always come at your face? So just a little something extra. All right, and then one more thing I'm going to do. So you can see it has these little white, they'll dry a little bit as we work on the rest of the card. One more thing I'm going to do before I finish is I'm going to take my, I already have this made up. This is a shimmer pen, or I'm sorry, a Stampin' Spritzer, and it's filled with frost white shimmer paint. And I'm going to spray this, that way it has a nice sparkle underneath. And then we're going to sit this on the side to dry while we finish the rest of what we're going to do for our card. That way it'll be really, really sparkly. And this is mixed with, I'm sorry, I should have said this, alcohol. So rubbing alcohol, shimmer paint, and basically you fill the rubbing alcohol up to about here. Add some drops of shimmer paint and then just give it a really, really good shake. I'm sure you guys have seen me do that a bazillion times before. So this is going to take a little time to dry, but it's super, super, super sparkly. So let me just wipe this off. You can also, if you wanted to, you could heat dry this a little bit. It'll help to flatten it out. But then we'll just set this on the side to make sure it fully dries. So you can see it does go pretty flat. Okay, so I'll show you this. It has a lot, hopefully that's coming through, it has a ton of sparkle on there. So it just looks very snowy, frosty. So this is going to go on the side for now. So now what we're going to do is you could do this a couple of different ways, and I'm thinking I should have grabbed something like usual, but I didn't, so we might have to improvise. You could do one of two things. We can either put this little snowman and we could put him inside and stamp him and kind of fussy cut him out, which might be cute. You could do this snowman here by stamping and punching him. We also have a snowman stamp that you could use. So kind of depends on whatever it is that you guys want to do. If you want to do this one and we will fussy cut him, I know not everybody's into fussy cutting, which is totally fine. I understand that. We can make him work that he won't be too tight around this, or we could do the build a snowman and put him in. So do we have a preference? That's my only question. I'm going to grab my memento in the meantime because we're going to do that no matter what. We're also going to need a piece of Whisper White to be able to stamp him on. So I have this guy we can do. We'll put him on here in case you like that. This guy's kind of fun too because he has the little snow up there falling around him, which might also be cute. So I'll mount these three and we'll see which one you guys prefer. In worst case scenario, we can do little Mr. Snowman here with his parts. The only thing that's kind of hard on him, and this is just me being honest, are the stick arms. They just never seem to punch out the way that I like, so I end up usually using the other stamp. So, let's see here. We have, nope. We have, Sean Connery died. Holy cow. Well, that makes me sad. Donna. Oh, transparencies. Oh, I'm sorry you had to run. Thanks for joining, Daphne. It was nice to see you. All right, I'm just waiting here. I don't see any preference about the snowman one way or the other. So I'm just going to go with this guy then. You know what? I'm going to stamp both of these because I'm going to see which one I like better. So there's one. So I do have a mat underneath of my pad here that I'm stamping on, but since these are all photopolymer, you do want to make sure that you're stamping onto a mat. That is pretty important. And here's one. Do this guy over here. Here's two. Oh, darn it. Look, Sue said the punch. All right. Hold on one second. Sorry, had to go grab it. Okay, so here's a quick tip. If you're doing your punch, I'm not going to do the arms because they just frustrate me. So what I'm going to do is I'm unlocking him and I'm going to put these pieces in. These are the stamps. Just like so. Close that up. And I'm hoping this works the way I think it's going to work. because I've done it, of course, never on camera, but I've done it once before and it worked just fine. This is just a teeny bit close. Okay, so I'm going to stamp these, that way they should line up perfectly to punch. All right, let's see. Interesting. I know. Oh, he died in his sleep. That could be. Okay, so here is our punch. So let's see if this works the way it's supposed to work, if I did it correctly. I'm going to slide this in. It should almost be, except I have a little tip down here. Hold on. I use these two little dudes for something else. Just a little bit off here. Watch this. And what I kind of do is I start kind of slightly holding it just to hold this in place. So I'm just barely closing it. Not enough to punch it, but there you go. So you have snowman, hat. I lost the arm somewhere. Here's his nose. Oh, you know why I didn't have enough for the arm? Here's another one. I'm just going to color those two because I find that one incredibly frustrating to get it to look like it lines up even remotely correctly. All right, so there's that. So we're going to, I'm going to get my blends. What is this? This should be Seaside. Yep, dark and light Seaside. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to him just so he kind of looks like a cold snowman, you know, that he's just not just stark white edging sitting there. A little bit up top, like that. That looks pretty good. I'm going to add dark pumpkin pie for his nose. There's that. And shaded spruce. Nope. Oh, call me Clover. Let me at least get a current color. Shaded spruce. That looks kind of to be berries. All right, and then just cherry cobbler, light for the berries. And then I want to add still, a little bit of gray to the hat because otherwise it just doesn't look accurate. So I have, this should be dark smoky slate. You certainly don't have to do all this, but so there's that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with my, I wanted the dark one. Yeah, the dark Seaside spray. And I'm actually going to outline the edges. So just very lightly going around the edge. I know this punch isn't lined up as good as it could be, but it's pretty okay. I'm going to do the same for the hat. And then I'm going to take cinnamon cider. This is light cinnamon cider. Pick this up. Now, I still don't know if you're supposed to do this with the blends on this because this is about the only thing I haven't gotten to come off of this silicone mat, but I'm going to try to stay on. I'm just going to hit this. You probably could do this on a piece of scrap, but okay. There's that. That was light cinnamon cider. I'm going to add just a little bit of dark to it. Just in like a couple spots. Okay. One other thing I'm going to do really quickly, because I want him to be able to stick together. So I'm going to just put a little bit of liquid glue, because we want him to stick before we put him into the shaker so the rest of the stuff doesn't stick to him. I'll just put a little bit here. Okay, just like so. All right, so there is our little snowman. Okay, so leave him here. Okay, so the final thing we're going to do is, and I feel like I don't want to use that because it's going to compete with the snowflakes too much, so I'm just going to do blue. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my rectangles, and I think these are big enough. Let's see, what's this one measure? Yeah, that's just below 4. So I'm going to use these two to cut this out, okay? So I'm going to run these through my die cut machine, because basically all I want is this frame, okay, essentially. So I'm going to just trim this down just with my scissors real quick, because it should be close enough. And I'm going to run this through my die cut machine to cut out a frame that's going to go around our shaker card. So just like that. Okay, let me just pop these things out of the way. This is completely dry, so we're all good with that. I'm gonna put this on. Man, I'm still thinking about Sean Connery. Darn. $90. He had an amazing voice. That is one thing for sure. No one will ever forget that. So I'm just going to pull this out, and then we'll have, this is just a little scrap piece. You could keep this piece probably if you wanted to, but otherwise you just have your little frame. This is going to be an inside piece. You could use this for something else altogether. But then the nice part about this, and I have this one taped together because I think I've used it before, is you have this nice double stitched frame. So it's stitched on the inside and the outside, so it really does make it look like a frame. So we're going to put this together. So we have our base, we have our window sheet. Make sure our frame, yeah, I had a feeling I was going to have to cut it down a little bit, but that's okay, no biggie. We have our frame right here, so I'm just going to trim this off just a little. And I'm going to trim this down just a little bit as well. Okay, so I'm going to look and measure both of these, cut all of this down at the same time. It's a little bit easier to do it that way than after the fact, which is kind of what I usually do. So this measures 3 3/4 by 5, and I think that's 1/8. 3 3/4 by 5 1/8. So I'm going to cut this one down. I'm going to flip it over. 5 1/8 by 3 3/4. So make sure this measures up exactly. Yep. And 5 1/8 by 3 3/4. And the other thing is too, with these little teeny pieces that you end up with, you can always use these to make like a pop-up thing. So I do save these because you could make a little pop-up thing that these will make, you could attach, like for example, if you wanted to do like a pop-up snowman, and then you can attach this to it for your card. So don't get rid of these. You can use these for something. I have to do a video and show you what to do with those after the fact. Okay. So now all we have to do is put this together. So I'm going to use tear and tape on this because I really want to make sure that it stays. So I'm just going to put tear and tape here. And sometimes for these cards specifically, you're going to notice I'm not going to add a sentiment, because this could be like a birthday card, it could be a winter card, it could be a Christmas card, it could even be like a Valentine's card, it could be a winter birthday card, which is mine. So I probably won't add a sentiment to this until I actually decide what I'm going to use it for. All right, so there's that. That was tear and tape. I am going to use the foam strips. If you wanted to make it easier, you could use a foam sheet and you could just die cut it exactly like you did for the other one when we did our frames. Him over and set this down way I don't end up with any spots. Buddy, you gotta wait. Put this right here. Rainbow Stamper's trying to sneak in the back here, so that lines up almost perfectly. Probably have a little goopy stuff on here. Okay, so then what you want to do is you still want to make sure you hit this with your embossing buddy, just to kind of cut down on the static, because you don't want your shaker elements to stick to the inside, to the window, instead of sticking where it's supposed to be. So now I'm going to grab my foam strips and I'm just going to peel these off. I'm going to put this as far to the edge as I can. And I'm just going to turn it. You could cut it if you wanted to, but I'm just going to turn mine. So that was one, so I'm definitely not going to need that much for the second one, so I'll probably use these little pieces to piece it together. Again, I'm trying to stick as far as I can to the edge. That way we have plenty of room for our shaker material. Oops, okay. And there. Make sure you don't leave any gaps, because if you do, your stuff is going to escape. And nobody wants a shaker card that's leaking. Just going to snip this right here, like that. Okay. So we have that. This is our front. Here is our base. Make sure you give this a nice crease so it stays. And instead of using liquid, I'm going to use Stampin' Seal. That way I'm sure this will stay put where I put it. Try my best to line this up pretty accurately. Okay. Probably could have put a little bit more under here. I'll pull this up just a smidge. Rest assured it stays down. Okay, it looks pretty good. I'm also going to go ahead and put my snowman down. Put him over here. Actually, I move him over a little bit so his arm doesn't get stuck in the trap there. Okay, so all we're going to do now, I'm just pushing this down one more time just to make sure that it's all stuck. And you can do one of two things. You can either put, I'm going to do a mix. Put some of the balls in the middle. A couple. You don't want to overload it, because then sometimes it doesn't shake well. And put some of the snowflakes. That's good. If you have too much shake in your shaker, it kind of just sits, doesn't really move. So I'm going to take off my release paper. And I'm just going to line him up the very best I can onto my layer. And I think I got one little thing stuck under. Oh, nope, it moved. So I'm just giving this a really solid push just to ensure that it is. And then there you go. You have a fun little shaker. So you could add any kind of a sentiment. So I'm not going to add a sentiment until after the fact, but lots of fun stuff. You could do this with, if you did it with the other two little snowmen that I had cut out, I don't know where I stashed them previously, you could just trim these. What I would have done is to probably cut really close around here and then just adhere that in the back. But little fun shaker. You could add any sentiment to, depending on if you have birthday, if you have winter birthday, if you have Christmas, maybe if you get a surprise blizzard. And Linda got some snow recently, so it's kind of be even funnier if we did snow in it. That would be a pretty interesting card to do, right? An autumn snow card. But we do have lots of really good sentiments. You could just use Let It Snow, Heartwarming Memories, Merry Christmas. We have a couple other really fun ones too. Heartfelt Christmas, A Merry Hello, May Your Season Be Filled with Magic. All of those would go really, really nicely with this card that we created, because it could just be something just fun and whimsical, especially for this year. We definitely need some whimsy, that's for sure. I think one little thing is, though, my little snowman must have the tiniest drop of glue right around his nose, and I'm hoping that piece is going to fall off because he has a snowflake stuck to his face. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Also, thank you for joining me with the interactivity and the ideas, because for me, that's what makes stamping fun, is being able to make something that somebody likes, and it's kind of like we're working along together making something fun. So thank you guys so much for that today. I really appreciate it. I will see you live, if not before, most definitely next Thursday at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 p.m., not a.m. And we have a couple half days coming up in November, so I'm hoping I'll be able to schedule some random stuff during the day, which will be super fun. But this card was really, really fun to make, along with all the others that I shared in the beginning. So if you did join late, make sure you go back and watch the replay. If you'd like to buy any of these supplies and more, you can hit my online store 24/7, no mask required, at rachthestamper.stampinup.net. There is a host code on the top of this page that will close, and I'll be adding a new one tomorrow starting for November 1st. If anyone is going out trick-or-treating, I hope you have a super fun time, and if you see any trick-or-treaters out, I hope they enjoy visiting with some people that maybe they haven't seen in some time. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you again real soon. Thanks so much for watching.